my parents ended up giving me a 10 grand 21st birthday present. I ended up spending all of that money on a car. I don't regret that part of my life, but at the same time, had I invested that 20 grand into something else, something that would compound over time, I would have been a lot ahead than I am today. If you're saving up for a goal, saving up for something that's really valuable to you, I highly recommend you not worry about what other people are going to say. Hey everyone, it's Opa here for another video where I talk about health, wealth and happiness. So today's video is about whether you should drive a brand new car or buy a brand new car versus driving a beta or a POS until you can afford to pay for it with real money, not financing. So what are the pros and cons here? It's fairly obvious, right? Maybe it's not obvious. So let me backtrack. When I was 21, I ended up saving, say, 10 grand or so between the age of 18 to 21. And my parents ended up giving me a 10 grand 21st birthday present. I ended up spending all of that money on a car. It wasn't a brand new car. It was a Japanese import, Nissan 180 SX blacktop. Very fancy. And then I got my friends and we ended up doing it up and making it all flashy. And it looked nice. It would look like a really cool car, several decades ago. Do I regret that? It's hard to say, right? So when you're in your 20s, you want to enjoy your life. You want to be a young kid. You want to be, drive around and look all nice. I don't regret that part of my life. But at the same time, had I invested that 20 grand into something else, something that would compound over time, I would have been a lot ahead than I am today. Okay? Not that I haven't done okay for myself now, but it would have been a lot more better. Anyway, so I drove that for maybe a couple of years, not too long. And then I quickly came into my senses. I'm going, geez, I'm driving around this car. It's nothing but trouble. Because I used to get pulled over all the time as well because the exhaust was so loud. The cops hated me. I'd lose all these demerit points. I'd lost my license for 6 months and all of these just, things that happened that I was just sort of attracting because I was driving this noisy car around. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I ended up getting a Toyota Starlet. And this was a 1998 black Toyota Starlet. And it was awesome. Awesome meaning in terms of economics. Man, I could put $20-$30 worth of petrol. This is back then. And I would run for weeks. And it was a 1.6, 1.2, somewhere around this very small engine. So we could run on fumes basically. And at the time I was DJing as well. So I had this little mini car with all of my DJ speakers. And I remember, every 6 months or so, I would have to change the shocks on this car. I'm going, what's going on? And it only occurred to me afterwards because I was driving around with all these speakers, heavy equipment. The car's shocks at the back was just completely going. But I was okay. It wasn't anything flashy. And at that point in time, I wasn't trying to impress anyone at all. I've just gone, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to drive around this and save my money. And I did. The same time, I ended up buying a van as well because my DJ business had sort of grown to the point where I could justify buying a high-ace van. And I ended up picking that on eBay for like 3.5 grand. It was probably worth close to 6, 7, 8 even. Easily. And it's the Dolphin. They call it the Dolphin because the front of it sort of looks like a dolphin. 1998 Toyota Hiace. There was some panel damage on the side, but thankfully my dad helped me fix that. And I used to, put all of my DJ equipment, including like 2 twin-inch subs, and I would wheel it around, and that was awesome as well. So I had 2 vehicles back then. Eventually, I ended up getting rid of the Toyota Starlet because I think at that point in time I had gotten married and our first child was on the way. And I'm just going, geez, I gotta get myself a decent car. I can't be driving my son or daughter who will come along in a Toyota Starlet, right? And it was older, even that point. It was an old car. So I ended up buying I made a mistake again. I ended up buying a Chrysler 300C. And this was, for those who don't know what a Chrysler 300C is, it's basically the poor man's version of a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce. It was a big car, and it did what it was supposed to do, which was when I drove that around, like no one came near me. Like I would get, people would give way to me on roundabouts. So the idea of my mentality, me justifying buying a big car, was to keep my daughter safe. And I remember picking her up from the hospital. She's in the middle, and I'll be driving like a little granny. And it was fine. Like going back at it, I don't know if I did the right thing, but at that point in time, I felt like I was doing the right thing. I got myself a big car to protect the only thing that mattered in my life, which was protecting my daughter. And it was not until I've gone, geez, okay, this is just costing too much in petrol and maintenance, because I ended up going for a service and there was a crack headlight, needed to get that fixed. And the bill came to $750 just for the tail, the front light. Just going, what's going on here? And there was a few things like this that came up. I'm going, okay, I'm done. And at that point in time, I've gone, I'm not gonna drive a brand new car. I didn't get that brand new, by the way. That was like a 5-year-old car. I told myself I'm not gonna buy a brand new car until I can really, really afford it. So sold the Chrysler and ended up getting a $5,000 car from Facebook Marketplace. And I figured I'm just going to ride this thing until it breaks. And you know what? It did break down a couple of times, but I just kept going on it. And I would pack my speakers in, drive around from place to place, DJing. And it was okay. The car itself was not reliable. Later on, mechanics would just give me grief going, oh, you got your Craptiva again. And I didn't know this was a thing with this particular vehicle. And it was a Holden Captiva, drove it around, and it got to the point where I'd taken to the mechanic, and this mechanic I hadn't actually been to before. The reason why I had to go was because it wasn't going at all, and I went to the nearest mechanic. And the guy was really nice to the point. He goes, mate, to fix this, it's gonna cost you about $8,000. Probably more than the car is worth. My suggestion is just keep driving it until it dies on you. And that's it. Just keep going. I said, thanks, dude. Appreciate the advice. I gave him a good Google review as well for his honesty. And I drove it around for another 12 months until it completely died. And this was during COVID. It wouldn't start. It had done. But, I got my money's worth out of it. Even though I do remember driving around, when I did, thinking, please don't die on me, please don't stop on me. So I do remember feeling that anxiety, and I hated it. And it was not until I sort of went on to the next car, which I'll get onto a little bit later, that I felt, wow, I was driving around all this anxiety just because I thought this car would break down. So, and then I had no car. And this was during COVID where, couldn't find any cars at all. I was ringing around, and then thankfully, my mate Dylan lent me his Tesla, who incidentally owns everyday exotics, by the way. So give him a call if you want an exotic car. But he had a just Tesla sitting there and goes, man, just take my car. And so he's one of these guys who's got like 10 cars in his driveway. He doesn't know which car to drive. So thankfully I drove his Tesla around for 3 weeks until I ended up buying the car that I have today, which is a Toyota Prado. And I did buy a brand new. The only reason being, even though I said I wouldn't, I did look for a second hand. I thought, okay, I'm going to go a 3-year-old Prado. The difference between a 3-year-old Prado and a car which had done 50,000 Ks versus a brand new Prado was $10,000. And I'm going, it does not make sense to buy secondhand when I can just buy the brand new and pay that 10 grand difference. The problem was during COVID, you couldn't find any. There was like, you could pay top dollar, you could not find any at all. It got to the point where I ended up just picking up the phone and ringing every single dealership, not only in Victoria, but interstate as well. Anyway, I ended up finding one and it got delivered within 3 weeks, which was just a miracle. But here's what I'm coming down to. If you're saving up for a goal, saving up for a house, saving up for an investment property, saving up for something that's really valuable to you, I highly recommend you not worry about what other people are going to say and drive a reliable, be it a car or a POS. So going back to that Tesla that I had, not the Tesla, I'm sure, Tesla, the Toyota Starlet that I had, that was a very reliable car. Like that, no issues at all, like none. Like that would just go, go, go. I mean, apart from me overloading the car and the shocks going, there was no issues with the car. Well, side story. So when my Captiva broke down, I had a few roadside assistants come and help me out, RACV and so forth. And I called around a few mechanics as well and going, hey guys, car's gone. Any recommendations on what type of car? Have a guess what they said. I'll give you a few minutes. So I spoke to 3 RACV people because my car just kept breaking down within short windows. And I ended up I spoke to my main mechanic and 2 other mechanics. So like all up like 6 people who dealt with cars every day. And every one of them gave me the same answer. They go, buy this car. Well, I've sort of given you a hint already, haven't I? They told me buy a Toyota. I know. And I've gone, which one? And the answer was, doesn't matter. They're all good. And they were giving their honest advice. But funnily enough, my dad had given me the same advice long before that, but I'd gone, hey, he's biased because he worked for Toyota for 20 years. So I've gone, of course he loves Toyotas because he worked there. He's just got a preference to them. But it turns out Toyotas are really reliable. And if you're in America, I've heard the same thing about Hondas as well. There doesn't seem to be, there are Hondas in Australia, obviously, but they don't get the same credit as the Toyotas. I don't know why. I'm assuming the reliability-wise, it's the same. But I can't vouch for them. 100%. The Toyotas just go, go, go. I know there are some of the vehicles which, consume a lot of fuel, like the Klugers and so forth. But all in all, the reliability factor is just really high. Like even my one now, it's a brand new car. So you would hope that nothing happens to it, but it's just a workhorse and I love it. So no regrets from my end because it was at a point where I could afford that car. It's no issues. It becomes a business expense anyway. And at that point in time, my main requirements in getting the Prado versus say a Camry or something is because I needed something that's 7 seats, which was, because I needed to take my parents or the in-laws, as well as I needed to put a tow bar and have a large towing capacity because I had a vision of buying a caravan, which is still a vision, but I was still pulling trailers as well because at that point in time, I was renovating some houses. And I was basically, just going back and forth with the trailer to Bunnings and tire shops and this and that, buying timber. So it was really much a workhorse and it has treated me really well. So circling back now, if you're pretend you are a, young couple with a family and you need a reliable car. My main and you're saving up for a goal. My thinking would be if you're saving up for a goal, no point buying a brand new car, but you want something reliable and safe, right? So if it's got, airbags and ABS, that's, 2 big ticks for you anyway in terms of safety wise. And just check, there are sites out there like redbook.com.au. And I'm sure there's other sites like this in America, UK, and all around the world. check the reliability and safety ratings, but you can still get an old car and keep your family safe. If I was to do this all over again, I certainly would do that. I mean, yeah, even though the cars that I've had were old, they were still safe and reliable, and I would highly recommend this than driving a brand new BMW or a Mercedes, which you're barely making the repayments on, and you're impressing people, but you don't have any real assets. Real assets means, either property or shares or businesses or something valuable that will appreciate in value. I mean, just as an example, I could tell you this just by observations. The house across the street had a for lease sign on it. Double-story house, nice house, and it got rented out a few weeks ago. It's rented out. These people drive BMWs, Audis. They don't have a Merc, BMWs and Audis. So fairly, luxurious cars, and they're renting. And I'm not trying to judge these people, but mentally I'm thinking, what are you driving these fancy cars and you're renting this house? And I don't know their circumstances. Their circumstances might be completely different, and it might be valid in what they do. So, for example, they might be a sales rep for a company and they need this, like they need a nice flashy vehicle because they need to be of a certain class or whatever. So I don't know their backstory, but I'm just using that as an example of, really work out what's important to you and make those sacrifices earlier in your life rather than waiting down the track. Because you want to really pay, have a house paid for yourself by the time you enter retirement. If you ever listen to a guy called Dave Ramsey, who is a personal finance guru in America, he is very adamant on not getting finance at all for vehicles at all. That's his philosophy. And his philosophy is, if you can't afford to pay for it with cash, and this includes real estate for him, which I don't agree with, but then agreeing the man's worth $200 million plus, so it's a different story. So maybe we should listen to him. But I just being honest, I don't agree with that particular side of things, because in Australia, imagine trying to save 600, 700, $1 million cash before you go into it. But for vehicles, he certainly doesn't advocate getting finance, and neither do I. So if you can afford it, if you can somehow afford it, pay for it with cash, and that way, you're not struggling. If you can structure it in a way that it's financially better for you to put it under a business name, if there are enough business miles, kilometers going through it, then it makes sense to do it that way as well. Might be other options as well, like getting leases and novated leases through work. Run the numbers on that. I personally haven't done before. I don't know if it's worthwhile. At the end, if the numbers don't work out, just write it down, put it into a spreadsheet, see how much you're going to save, see how much the outgoings are, and see if it works out better for you. But if I've repeated this like 5 times, if you're saving up for a goal, just drive a beta POS car that is not going to be fancy. You're not going to look any pretty to, driving to all these parties, and all your friends have got nice vehicles and you rock up in a old, they don't have Datsuns anymore, do they? I don't know, Camry or something. Okay. Hope you got that. Let me know if you disagree with me. I know there are two schools of thought here. I'm obviously at the school of thought where, drive that until you could afford it, and then you can buy yourself a nice car, such as, what my mate is selling. And, he's done that as well, and he's been able to buy any car he dreams of pretty much these days. Okay, I'll wrap it up. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.